Hello, good morning. My name is Davion Fleming, Director of Admissions at Lick-Wilmerding High School. We're so happy to have you here today for our fourth open house focused on the arts. So today we have visual arts, performing arts, and our technical arts program. So I hope that you are comfy in your seats at home and that you're ready to soak up all the different things that our teachers have to say to you. After our teachers speak, we'll have a panel of students to share their experiences with you as well. But before we get started, we'll do a quick round of introductions, and I'll start with the admissions team. And so let's start with Andrew.
Thanks, Davion, and good morning to everyone here. We are excited to host you here. Like Davion said, my name is Andrew Manansala, Associate Director of Admissions, Outreach and Engagement. And before working at Lick, I also attended a school. So alumni, graduated in 2009. I will pass off the mic to my teammate, Elizabeth.
Hi, and good morning, everybody. My name is Elizabeth Tackett, Associate Director of Admissions, Operations, and Flexible Tuition. We're so glad you're all here with us. I hope that you find this an informative time for you. And like Andrew, I am also an alum of the school. Andrew and I actually got to go to school together, so it's fun to be back in the office together. And yeah, we look forward to getting to know all of the families and students this year. I'm gonna pass it back to Davion.
Awesome, thanks you two. They are such a wealth of knowledge. And so if you haven't already, everyone, please feel free to reach out to us and ask us if you have any questions as you go through the admissions process. Now I'm gonna pass the virtual mic over to Eric Temple, our head of school, who's here to say hello to everyone.
Thanks so much, Davion. I just wanted to say a quick hello and thank everyone for being here today. I know lives are busy and that you've carved out some time to get to know us a little bit. You are in for such a treat in that you're going to learn about our various art programs. And one of the school's motto is head, heart, and hands. And the arts at Lick could not epitomize that motto better. Not only will you learn how to build things and draw and paint and act and make sets and do all the wonderful things that arts allow you intellectually, but and with your hands, but I really want to also have you focus on the heart of art and the way that it asks you to stretch your perspective and to learn about how other people see things and how you see the world. And it's central to the experience at Lick-Wilmerding. So thank you so much for joining us today. And you're just going to be in for such a treat with just the amazing teachers that we have as they explain to you their programs. Thanks so much. And I pass it back to Davion.
Amazing. Thank you, Mr. Temple. I really appreciate your time with us today. So to start off, talking a little bit more about the heart of art. You always say so many wonderful things, Mr. Temple. The heart of art, Miss Goranka, Poljak-Hoy, the students, they love her so much. Like all of the students that take her classes are just gush over her, and when they come to the admissions office, they're always talking about how engaged they are in their class and how much they've learned. So we're really excited to have Ms. Goranka talk to you a little bit about the visual arts program. Goranka, I think you're muted.
Yeah, I was behaving nicely, so I wouldn't interrupt anybody. Good morning, everybody. My name is Goranka. I have been at Lick a little bit over 30 years. I was an architect practicing before I got this job, and I thought this would be my 2 or 3 years kind of experiment, and turned out into a whole life experiment. It's been such a gift to be a teacher at Lick. And I have to say that over the years, I really met such an array of amazing young people. So I look forward to meeting you as new students next year, and promise to be an inspiring teacher, at least, if not supportive of your artistic expressions. As a representative of the visual arts department, as actually a department chair as well, I'd like to say a few words just about what we do in this department, what kind of things we offer. We certainly work with your imagination. I know that you are certainly rich in that area, and we will do everything we can to help you find ways to express it in a most sort of unique and creative way for you. The ninth graders are required to take a class. I'm gonna share the screen with you guys so you can see a few examples. I was very short with the number of examples, but all ninth graders are required to take a class that's called Contemporary Media and Art class. And it's group taught, so it's taught by me. I teach architectural design as a part of that class. Mr. Oleg Osipov teaches drawing and painting. Mr. Robert Sanborn teaches photography and drawing. And Mr. Arenas teaches drawing and video. So if you were paying attention to what I was just saying, it's drawing and drawing and drawing. And we truly believe that drawing is one of the skills that if you need to take one sort of really strong skill out of this class, that would be the one that will serve you the best, no matter what kind of things you decide to do in your life. It's not so much about discovering and learning how to use pencil in a creative way, but it's more about ways of seeing, learning how to look attentively and then look again and look again. And every time you look and zoom in a little bit more, you actually get more information. So, so I'm going to show you a few examples from this cycle of the class. You would start with a different teacher, and then each quarter move to a different space and meet a new teacher and a new subject. But as I said, the drawing part would continue, except that in each area you would learn how to draw different subjects, yet using similar, more or less same methodology or same technique that you already studied. So Mr. Osipov teaches several studio art classes, and I'll talk about that in a little bit, but he starts with teaching you how to draw a figure, so human body. They start small from like hand and eyes and stuff like that, and eventually you will learn how to draw the whole figure. This is a self-portrait of a student from a class. It's from this year. And then you move into applying similar skills, actually the same skills, into the painting. So the figure in painting, where you learn a little bit more about color theory and color processes and color composition, but at the same time, you still maintain the skills that you learn about drawing. So this is a self-portrait of the student from this year as well. In architecture class, so that there would be second quarter, you would learn a little bit more structural types of drawings. So this is a museum drawing by a student in my class, just finished last week. And basically, you carry the same skills in terms of line quality and shading, but you're applying it now to a different subject. And we learn about like perspective drawing here a little bit more. And then we move into architectural design, literally, but not quite architectural, purely project, where students are asked to redesign our art courtyard, which actually does really need some love and care. So students really get very excited about it, and they imagine a number of improvements they could do for that space, including like architectural features like a canopy and seating, but also landscaping elements and the sculptural elements. So it's quite multi-artistically challenging project, and students really do a beautiful, beautiful job. The third quarter will take you to photography, and again, you're going to be drawing. The photo class focuses on still life. So really teaching you to recognize beauty in the things around, things that are surrounding you, things that are right there near you and that maybe you don't even pay attention to. So learning how to observe, how to recognize beautiful moments in everyday objects is really the premise of this class. This is a still life by a student from that class. And then those kind of principles, especially you learn about photography nurturing the idea of the rule of thirds. So rule of thirds that was explored here will be then further explored in photography, which also works with still life, yet maybe a little bit with a little bit more freedom of expression and a little bit more, I guess, options for recognizing that subject in a, again, in the real world. In this class is primarily focusing on digital photography, but I'll explain that a little bit later. We do have a darkroom and students in advanced classes still work with black and white photography. It's a very popular class. And the last quarter, and seriously, that's not the only order you would be going, maybe a different order, but similar project. The last quarter would be with Mr. Arenas in a media studio, and again, going back to drawing, but this time exploring natural world, so nature. And students really focus on a different aspects of natural environment there, from, in this case, like mushrooms and leaves, but could be flowers, could be trees, could be, you name it. And further explore your drawing skills, and then apply some of those skills, or at least ways of seeing and viewing, into a final project, which is a video poem. It's this is just a screenshot, sort of like a still image of a movie, a short movie that students make, depicting sometimes a poem they wrote themselves, sometimes a poem by a famous poet. It kind of varies from time to time, but basically finding a visual imagery to deliver the sentiments, the emotions of the poem. So that's the nutshell for the CMA class. I'm gonna stop sharing here. And takes a whole year, and ultimately following years, students have choices to attend to sign up for one of our electives. In the elective arena, we have architectural design classes. There are 3 levels to that, where students start designing basic shapes from like just simple open air pavilion, and then develop their skills to highest levels, like my most advanced class students design skyscrapers. That is a class that I teach. In photography, we have photography 1 and 2, and both classes explore black and white photography processes, which are, as you probably know, rare to find these days, but they also do explore the more contemporary versions through digital photography. Mr. Osipov in Art Studio offers a lot of choices: drawing and painting class, mural painting class, printmaking class, mixed media, and finally the video program. We have really an actively a kind of interactive class, a multimedia class that we call Art in Action, where students read pertinent literature, and then they do art projects based on that. They're usually socially engaging, activist sort of materials, and students really like participating in that sort of way. Every other year, we also offer a video cinematography class where students make a number of short movies. Oftentimes students think they can make, a 2-hour-long movie when they sign up for that class, but then learn that 5 minutes is probably the maximum they could hope for. So, so that's in a nutshell what we have to offer in this class. I hope that that gives you a little bit of a sense what you might be encountering as you get to as you become a student in our classes. We do have, and we do try to show as much of our work as possible. So we have examples of all the levels of work on our website. And then once you come to visit, you will see that we also have art on display in our hallways. There's also at the entry of the building, at the very entrance in admin wing, there is also gallery space that we try to show as much of our stuff as we can, of our students' work. And it's interesting to see how much our students like to have their work shown, but it's also really rewarding to see how much people respect having that as a part of their environment, and also how actually in many ways it makes our school, I guess, be a happier place because the art that's produced by our students is truly representative of our values. So that's in a nutshell what I have to say for today. I'm open for the questions if you have any.
Awesome, thanks, Goranka. So one question that we have from Zachary is, can a student take more than one visual arts class at a time?
The first year, you don't really have a space for that, but after that, yes. And actually, most of the times, students take more than one visual arts offering. As a matter of fact, a lot of students do, but seldom the same year. And it has to do with our block schedule and requirements. That doesn't mean you cannot, you just need to make that your top priority. But most of the time, students are required to take 5 academic courses, and our maximum is 7. So that would mean that your other 2 electives can be any of the art courses. Additionally, you can actually take any of the art classes over and over. It doesn't mean that you are failing. It just means you're going into more depth. So if you max out on the advanced offerings, you can always enroll in the class again, and the teacher would create a special curriculum for you just so you can keep growing.
Great. There were a couple of questions with regard to like ceramics and sculpture. So to what extent have we had those types of programs at Lick as well?
Yeah, we have had ceramics for a very long time, and ceramics really requires a special space. We ended up, I mean, really literally damaging our plumbing system over and over and over to the point that we had to decide either to find a designated space for ceramics or give it up. And based on the interest of students, it really didn't make sense to create a new designated space. So we chose to, at least for now, put in a retirement, but we do have all our equipment. We still have, throwing wheels and a kiln in a storage should an opportunity arise where maybe either space would show up or the need would increase. So ultimately, we don't offer it right now. We also don't specifically teach sculpture as a 3D art, but students do make 3D objects in the mixed media class. So they work oftentimes with biosculptures. And this particular year, Mr. Osipov did a really beautiful project inspired by favelas, like southern, sort of the South American favelas, specifically inspired by Brazilian favelas. And students built these gorgeous wall pieces of houses that are made of found objects. And then they were all composed into one big piece. It's a really beautiful piece to see. Should you come to visit in person, make sure that your tour guide takes you to the art studio and visit that. And then we also, students make models in architecture class. So that's also a 3D building thing. And finally, we also know that a lot of three-dimensional art happens in the technical arts. So that there's plenty of opportunities for that. If you're thinking about traditional materials like, carving marble or building it out of clay, we don't actually offer that. That's for now.
Last question. What is your favorite aspect of the visual arts program at Lick?
Boy. Well, I absolutely love the way our students come, especially in ninth grade, with a range of preparedness, and then finding that each one of them will have a great learning opportunities, and there's this huge learning curve. As a team, we are very connected. We designed the class together and we continue to hone it and redesign it. So it was completely changed last year with COVID, and then completely changed this year with going back in person. But ultimately, our major idea and intention is to really encourage our students to be courageous, to explore, and to support them along the way. And at the same time, give everybody a backbone, a discipline, so that ultimately nobody can say someday that, oh, I can't draw, nobody taught me. Like, we definitely have given students strong set of skills. So even though it's an art course, art department, we actually really rely strongly on development of skills as well. So the confidence of expression comes from knowing how to do it. So I feel like every student will have an opportunity to get stronger. I usually tell my students that sometimes when faculty is asked to do, a work session for other faculty members, when we are actually in charge and we ask people to draw something, half of the faculty hides under tables. Oh God, I can't draw, nobody ever taught me. And I said, well, our students will never be able to say that. So our drawing unit, drawing emphasis is really something I think will serve everybody super, super well. On a personal note, I'm super proud that I have a huge number. There's more than 100 architects practicing today who all started their little architectural career in my class. And it's a wonderful community. They keep in touch and I've followed their work, and they suddenly, there's so many ways they're expressing themselves. So it makes me super proud as a teacher and as an artist, as an architect. So I hope that answers it.
That was perfect. Thank you so much, Goranka. I really appreciate your time this morning. So we will continue to move on, and we'll talk a bit about the performing arts now. And Ms. Kate Boyd is going to speak to you all. Ms. Kate has been with us for over 15 years and is also a freelance scenic and lighting designer. Good morning, Kate. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. Thank you. Good morning, everyone. Thank you. Yes, so I design sets and lights in the Bay Area, but I have been loving teaching at Lick-Wilmerding for a long time. I teach at Stagecraft here. And I'm going to try to start with a clip of our most recent production, which we had our first live show in this year, and it's called Puffs. It is a spoof on the Harry Potter series, and it endeavors to take all 7 books and turn it into a show that we see in one night. And so here's a short clip, but it's definitely a different point of view. So I'm picking this, and then I'm gonna hit play.
Year 5 in 1 word, emotions. Year 5 in 2 words, secret meetings. Even some of our puffs were invited to join. Man, these AA meetings are great! AA? Elvis's army? Oh, yeah, must have to protect ourselves. I'm just so happy to be included. I am in the group, right? Yeah.
Quick, Harry's looking this way. Let's practice our stunning spells.
I'm alright, let's follow first.
Okay, thank you. So that was Puffs. It was so great to have everyone back and live in the theater again. And so that sets and lights and all were designed by Stagecraft students, my students. And there was a cast of 28 on stage, and that was all included all different grade levels. And we're going to be having 3 more concerts before our winter break. And so if you'd like to see our theater, see Lick-Wilmerding after hours and the community there, please come to one of the, or any of those concerts. Check the website, all the information is there. Our performances are free this year, but each one is going to benefit a different local organization. We're excited about that. So you are welcome or invited to bring a donation item to the show. All of that info is going to be on the website. So I'm going to show you some other pictures of our past concerts, and let me try to do, wait a second, and sorry, not share, cancel. Here we go. Okay. And we'll do this. So Performing Arts Department, we have concerts coming up, and here is the orchestra choir concert. This is going to be the next concert happening. I'm going to do presenter view. There we go. So this concert will present the work of the orchestra class and the vocal ensemble class, chamber orchestra class. And so there'll be small numbers. This is everybody on stage. There'll be quartets and small groups, big groups, and then combined groups. And that's actually this Friday. And next slide. This is the jazz concert, which will also be next. We have 2 jazz classes, big band and jazz ensemble. And they've been rehearsing and working on numbers all semester. These are taught by Jason Gillenwater, our instrumental music teacher. And then our final concert of 2021 will be the dance concert. This is these classes are taught by Tabitha Robinson, our department chair, and that's we'll have 3 to 4 classes, I think, represented: Dance 1, Dance 2, and Dance Ensemble. There's 2 groups of Dance Ensemble. So I'm going to stop share. Well, our performances are just a small part, a tip of the iceberg, and our main events are, what am I doing? Sorry. Are all of our classes. Your classes in performing arts are in the schedule, so it's in your block schedule, A through H. And here is jazz class in our music room, and so our choir plays in, or has their class in here. Orchestra has their class in here, and someday you'll be able to tour it. And our next will be Stagecraft class. We have a scenic shop, and students there learn to, this was a crazy paper mache thing they're making there. So our students here learn the tools, they learn saws, so it's a lot like a shop class. And I teach that class. And they also do the design. So these kids are getting ready to tech the light and sound for, I forget which show. And our acting classes are taught by Mr. Zavala, Miguel Zavala, and they take place in the theater. And our dance classes also take place in the new building in our fabulous new dance studio, and taught by Tabitha Robinson. We have music making classes, songwriting and music production, where you'll learn digital audio and beats and soundtracks. And that's taught by our vocal ensemble teacher, Tony Asaro. So in our 4 strings or programs of our department, you can take beginning level, introductory level classes, and all the way through to advanced levels. You can start with dance 1 or acting 1 and progress through to dance 2, dance ensemble, or directing is kind of the pinnacle of the theater program, where you will study directing and then direct a 1-act, which will happen in the spring. Some students stay in orchestra all 4 years, and some students try different things here and there. So they might take acting and then try vocal and then try songwriting. So there's a lot to offer. And as a 9th grader, you have space in your schedule for 1 elective, and it can come from the Performing Arts Department, and it can be in any of these programs in our department. Our after-school program is not part of the class. It's after school, so it's not in your schedule, but anybody and everybody can be part of it. This is our last big musical, Beauty and the Beast. And you can see there's Gaston there, and this is one of the final dress rehearsals. And this is Mr. Asaro, who is conducting the singers and also the student orchestra. So all of the pit there is made up of our students. And the sets, everything is all student done. Mr. Zavala directs the performances. And what's great is it takes such a huge team. You can see how many people are involved in this show, as well as the backstage people. And it really creates a great community, and really great friendships are developed in our program. So I highly recommend taking our classes and being part of a show at some point. All right, what is the next slide? And as much as I want you to be excited about our performances, and I'm excited about our performances and classes, what we are striving for is to help you learn more about yourself as an artist, or learn more about the performing arts. And our goal is just to provide a safe place for you to stretch and to learn and figure out how you're going to fit in this world, and how the arts, the performing arts, can help explain what you feel about the world, and how they can create community. And it's hopefully this will be something that you can take through you for the rest of your life. This appreciation for the arts, it makes us much better humans. All right, and I think I'm going to stop sharing there and take questions.
Awesome, thank you so much. One question that we have in the Q&A section is just which classes, if any, in the performing arts are taken by everyone at Lick, or are they all electives that students are able to opt in to take?
So there are no required performing arts classes, but so everyone can take any class. I have all 4 grade levels in my class right now, and I think that's the case in a lot of our classes. So any grade can be in the choir. There's some classes that you need to audition for, and it's as you progress up into the instrumental music classes. So to be in the advanced jazz class, you need to go through big band first. So there are some progressions. Is that?
Yeah, perfect. And so speaking of that, let's see, can you just share with us just like how many or how open is the performance arts program to folks that are new, who don't have any experience in anything prior to coming to high school, prior to coming to Lick?
Oh, that's a great question. We take all levels of experience. And like when I say the cast of Puffs was 28, which is kind of our biggest cast ever. We had people who have never done it before, but who or people who have done some, who've been there, who are seniors who've done a lot of shows at Lick. So no one has experience in stagecraft when they come into my class. It's a little, and this, we in Dance One, we have students with zero experience, but just really want to dance. Same with Acting One. So we take everybody, and because if you are interested, we can help you learn how to get there. So we teach you the basics of acting, how to feel comfortable on stage. I teach you the basics of stagecraft and safety and how to work on a show and feel confident. If you want to audition for a show, we have students who are maybe seniors at Lick-Wilmerding who will audition in their final year. They'll try out for a one act or they'll try out for a play. And we love that, where they've been all 4 years at Lick and then finally they like, wait, I want to be on stage, and they'll be in a play. And so it's wonderful to have that.
Awesome. Thanks. And then one question, just particular to your class in stagecraft. Do students also design like costumes and things like that in your class as well?
Yes. So my students design the sets and the props, but I have to say costumes, when we're doing a show, we bring in an outside person to help because it's a little much. And we have students volunteer who are not in my class or who are in my class help with a costume. So we had a team of like 8 working on Puffs, working with our costume associate who helped organize and sew and build things. So yes, they design and sew and then also help run the costumes backstage. So make sure they're getting into their right costumes, helping with the quick changes that have to happen. So yes, we rely on, same with the lighting designers. I've had a senior right now who's worked on every show doing lighting, and he's never taken stagecraft because he wants to do photography instead or something. So.
Awesome. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. I know that there's a ton of questions, and some of them can be answered just by going to our performing arts page of our website. So please take a look there. And if you do have any other questions specific to choir or dance, you can also reach out to our teachers. They're really helpful, and they'll be more than happy to answer any like really specific questions that you have and you would like to ask them. And so we're going to move on here and talk a little bit about our technical arts program. And Samu Cortez is here to speak to you all. They are amazing with students. I've gotten a chance to just kind of peek my head in here and there as they are with our students, and students are super engaged even on Friday afternoons at the end of the day, which says a lot for high school students. So I'll just pass it over to Samu. Hello, good morning, buenos dias.
Hello, good morning, buenos dias, everyone. So I'll just give you a quick intro on what Tech Arts is all about. So let me just share my screen and just jump into it. All right, so the main thing about Tech Arts is that, if you know the history of our school, it was created as a trade school with hands-on as the core. And it's been like that since like the founding of our school, and we stay true to that. It's still hands-on at the core, but the thing about arts that we want to like bridge in is how to incorporate modern fabrication processes. So we do a little bit of the two, bridging the two two things of the world, right? We believe that it is important to keep on the hands-on processes and projects at the core, but at the same time, we want to junction it with design, engineering, and craft. And at the same time, that creates connections between peers, right? But between the teacher and the students as well, and creates this beautiful community. So in terms of design, right, the students fabricate three-dimensional objects. We want them to think about the form, the aesthetics, the function, but also how others are going to experience a piece. What is the experience of the viewer when they interact with these objects as well? And in terms of engineering, we try to make sure the students see the bridging between other classes and our technical classes, right? So bringing in their knowledge in math or science into our technical classes. And in terms of craft is learning the tradition of the craft, right? That in addition to creating amazing things, they also learn patience, persistence, and caring. So that's kind of the core of tech arts. We all are big in the process. So planning, prototyping, ideating, it is important for us. Some projects take 2 weeks, some projects take like a few weeks, half a semester, and some other projects actually take an entire semester. We really want students to learn how to start a project from beginning to end with testing, prototyping, and if it doesn't work, then going back and adjusting. And that's really like the learning behind, if you go on into the industry, it's all about this as well. So making connections, like I said, like in this case, this student created this bowl using segmenting wood turning. And he had to bring his geometry skills to make sure to get this picture of the elephant. So he had to do all the math before to be able to complete and create this amazing bowl. It's always a constant collaboration. And one key thing about tech arts, we say it to them every day, is about not just you successfully completing a piece, but how can we all help each other succeed as a team? They help each other keep the shop safe. So I tell them, like, I only have 2 eyes, but if I have 15 students, then there's multiple eyes, right? To making sure that we have a safety environment and that we are helping each other out when needed. In terms of getting feedback from students, we all listen to the students, listen to what they have to say. We get feedback, we basically give them feedback. And one major thing that we want to make sure is that we have a diverse and inclusive place. We want to make sure that students are self-aware of their own biases when they bring them into the shops. So we want to make sure that they're also great human beings. Most of our students have no experience, no previous experience at all. I would say like 90% of the students have never used a table saw before, or 90% of the students haven't welded before, or even had any experience coding. And most of the time, they do things that they never know they could do. And that is really important for us to create that confidence that doesn't matter what they're going to go on after graduating to do, they're going to take this practical and essential skills, not just like the technical, but also skills of how to be great collaborators, even beyond. So I'm going to talk about what courses we give in our department. So the first one is design and technology. This is a requirement for all incoming 9th graders. It is amazing. I love it. I love teaching it. So students are introduced to all the shops. So that will be woodworking, metalworking, and electronics. Students go from learning about the design thinking process, which emphasizes and is centered on human design center. So empathy is really important, right? When you're creating something, it's not about just creating. It's about who you're creating for, and making sure that students get that and experience this design thinking model. Beyond that, they are introduced to isometric drawing. So they learn technique. Most of them, I will see, they even say this to me every time, like comparing their first drawings to their last drawings, they're completely different because they learn simple tips and skills, or tips and techniques that they learn to make this happen. Once they learn the basic drawings, once they understand what isometric is, then we jump into digital rendering. So we introduce them to Rhino, that's the software we use. They start with simple tutorials that build up over time until they're able to basically model almost anything. So these are some of their examples from drawing from life, where they actually have to physically measure an object and bring those measurements into the digital rendering. These are just more examples about that. And then the main focus of design and technology is designing a lamp from beginning to end, from drawings to, well, actually before drawings is ideation. So getting just ideas of what they want to draw based on quick little prompts. Then they design the lamp in drawing, then in Rhino with certain limitations and only the materials that we provide. And then once they render it, the second semester is dedicated to fabricating their lamps. The lamp has to incorporate a circuit board that they program with LED lights, and it has to include metal, it has to include wood, and also acrylic, where they're introduced to laser cutting. So these are some of the designs they created. They're all completely different because they have freedom in terms of what they want to do. They literally can do almost whatever they want within the limitation of the materials. So these are some more examples of what previous students have built in the past. Cool. And at the end of the first year, after they finish the lamp, we place the lamps on all shops, because throughout the year, the students actually rotate from one shop to another to build the lamp. For instance, they come to the wood shop for 13 days. They make the wooden component of the lamp, then they go to electronics to do the electronic component of the lamp, then they go to metal to do the last rotation and make the metal component of their lamp. And then once they have the lamp completed, then we do a gallery walk and we do a reflection. Now, jumping into that's D&T, that is a requirement. And then now the following classes are electives. So 9, 10, and 11 graders can take these classes at any time. The Take Arts requirement is that they need to take 2 additional classes. One of them should be in the design and craft kind of category, and the other one should be in design and engineering. So the first class that we offer that is part of the design and craft would be jewelry. This is an introduction, of course, to the traditional craftsmanship of making jewelry. Students can use copper, nickel, silver to create the jewelry. They tend to be really small. Students do a lot of iteration and coming with the concept of their piece. So it's a lot of planning before they actually get their hands on with the materials. And then these are just some quick examples on some of these really beautiful pieces that they create. And beyond jewelry, we have wearables, sewing, and textile arts. In this class, students learn about patterns, like clothing patterns, right? They learn how to use the sewing machine. But in addition to that, they also go in deeper into cultural appropriation of different patterns, so that they are aware of that. And also they do some research on body image in clothing. So really understanding that textiles, right, and sewing is not just about creating an object, but there's an entire context behind that as well. These are some examples of what people fabricate. So you can see the patterns right here, like being able to use patterns, right? You can't just like create a pants by just kind of winging it. You actually have to do a lot of planning and understanding how those pieces come from 2-dimensional into 3-dimensional wearable pieces. These are some more examples. This one, he designed the hoodie as well as a hat. And now woodworking or joinery and turning. So this is a class that goes deeper into the woodworking skills. Students are introduced to the lathe, because during design and technology, we do not introduce the lathe until this class. So students are required in this class to create 2 projects, one that will use the lathe and one that incorporates joinery. So different types of joinery that they use. The projects are basically, again, like this is the main thing about Tech Arts, we allow students freedom to kind of go for whatever they want to do, and we just guide them through the process of building it. So you can see some examples of some people do boxes, some people do more like furniture. Some people do bowls. Some people do like game boards. So as long as they use turning and joinery, they basically they satisfy the course. So you can see more of those pieces that they made. For instance, this student right here, he wanted to make an electrical guitar, and he was able to do that in this class. He did all the wiring, he did all the circuiting as well from scratch, and used a CNC router to route the main body of the guitar. And he actually was playing it on the shops as well, in the shops as well. Students, use the table saws, band saws. They learn everything from prepping the wood, like using planers, sander, joiners, and then using the table saws or the lathe, the miter saw, and so on. Graphics and game design. This is another class where most students come in with little to no experience with coding. So the students learn P5 is mainly what they use. And one thing cool thing about this class is that because there's so much time spent on the screen, one of the projects the students actually do is create a pattern for a piece of fabric. So using code, they create these beautiful patterns, and then they get tested in different types of fabrics. And then they can actually use that fabric that they basically created a pattern for to create something tangible. So for instance, right here, the student created a blanket for his niece, and this a student back here created a pillowcase. So that's also an idea of how can we see something that is like, that is programmed on the screen, but outside and living as a tangible object. In addition to doing their design pattern, students then create a game. But it's not just about creating a game. They do a lot of research. They research different games, they play different games, and then they basically examine how the game works before they're able to create their own game. So these are 3 games that the students created. They create all their graphics as well, but they only get to this part after they did a lot of the research. And then community computing is a public purpose class, meaning the students go beyond just like learning and try to share their knowledge with some other folks. So one main thing that this class does is students who are in their second year of coding, so they have to, students who are in this class have to take the previous gaming class first. And then if they're in this class, what they do is go to elementary schools and teach students how to code. Like using tangible objects as well. Future furniture design or future design is kind of like digging deeper into metalworking, mainly cold bending, and students can go a little bit deeper into welding. And again, a lot of them just design pieces of furniture, whatever they want. They can incorporate elements from other shops, so they can incorporate wood or a 3D printed piece as well. So it's kind of interdisciplinary, but is mainly heavy focus on the metal. So students can use the forge, they can use the CNC plasma, and they just can continue getting better with the welding that they learn in their first year. So these are some just pictures of some of those pieces that the students have created. As you can see, it incorporates, some of them incorporated wood as well. And this is just a quote we got from a student from the class of 2014, the one we wanted to share. So very few of my professors at Brown have seen me work through design problems in the same way you have. And we love this. We love when students come back and you share things with us. Now going into another class, and this is part of the design and engineering classes, is circuits and electronics. This is where students learn about all the electrical components of a circuit, and they also get to create their own circuit board. So they design it, and then we use a milling machine to create it. And then they use that circuit board to create amplifiers. So beyond making sure that they program and they make the amplifier work, they also have to think about the aesthetics of the piece. So what is it going to look like, right? How other people are going to react to it. And they get to fabricate that out of wood or metal. They basically have access to all shops. So these are some other examples of how students have taken the full creativity for this class. Then we have device invention, where students get to program devices to recollect data. Some of it is live data, some of it is based on basically the environment. So for instance, this machine right here is just giving that live data on the stock market. We have this machine right here that studies the low tide versus high tide when the water moves from one container of water to the other. This one right here is like programmable to tell you when you need to get like if the smoke quality is really bad, so you need a N95 mask. The one back here is basically taking live data or when the Muni is coming close by. And then this one, my favorite, is a student created this device to track the chickens in the student's chicken coop. So if at 7 p.m. there was one chicken missing, the student will get a message to their phone saying that this chicken, like, Oliver is missing, so that they can go and find that chicken. In addition to that, one key part about this classes is to bring guest speakers. So in this case, we got Jeff Linnell from Robot Dynamics or Boston Dynamics to come in and speak about his experience working with robotics. And right here we have one of the students, Benny, who's actually he's actually playing with the robot live, and so they got to experience that. Then we have digital fabrication from algorithm to object. This is an introduction course to Grasshopper, which is a visual scripting program that allows you to basically manipulate geometry. Is computational design essentially. So students get to learn it by creating different pieces using 3D printers or CNC machining. Their final project is to actually create an object and send it to a company that is called Shapeways, where it gets fabricated in a different material that is not available in the shop. So like silver, copper, and so on. So these are some examples of that class as well. And then our public purpose class, that's where students are paired up with different nonprofits. So they do all the emailing back and forth, visiting site, and getting the beginning phase of ideating, and then finally getting their design approved before fabricating it and giving it back to that specific nonprofits. So I know for La Cocina, they made this little card. For Excelsior's Works, they made this shelving units. Really, they're like doing whatever that specific site needs from them. And they learn how to work with real work, like beyond just in the classroom, but applying it to beyond the school. Alumni connections are important, so we try to bring them on to do talks whenever we get a chance. So for instance, or right here, she worked with, I believe it's Adidas to create the sole for a shoe and 3D printed shoe, most likely using Grasshopper as well. And then Andrew, who actually is working in medical robotics, so creating this really amazing machines that allow you to make really precise surgeries. And then we just wanted to end with a quote by one of our former students. So tech arts means everything in my high school experience. It strengthens my problem-solving skills, my perseverance, my precision, and my craftsmanship, all skills that I can take with me and use in my other classes. The Tech Arts program at Lick truly pushes me to think deeply about how my actions can be used to contribute to the world with confidence and compassion. And I'll stop there because I've been talking a lot, but then I'll take any questions.
Beautiful, amazing. Let's see here, a couple of questions. I think that you talked a little bit about how the vast majority of our students don't have any experience in the shops. And so what about on the other end of the spectrum? There will be, I think from year to year, a couple of students, a handful of students who have a lot of experience. And so how do you support them in continuing to perfect their craft in the shops?
So I would say, like for D&T, I would say some students come with a lot of experience in certain tools, but not in all the I say all the classes, right? So those students who have like a lot of skills, then we teach them like to, one, they can push themselves a little farther in terms of what they can do and spend more time in the ideation phase. And then two, they also become our really good TAs. So a lot of times we that's where we implement like the leadership. So it's like, okay, you know how to use properly like a miter saw. So then you can help me and help like be like essentially like a TA in the class. But a lot of times, I think one big part is, again, teaching students that it's not about just them. It's about the entire class as a team. Like you are part of a team, like, and you have to learn that you are helping that team move forward.
Awesome. And then one last question. It isn't in the chat, but it's just one that I thought about. One thing that you talked about, and I know that your department really focuses on, is ensuring that folks who traditionally wouldn't be interested in the space feel welcome, feel a sense of belonging, feel like they it's their space too. And so what are some things that you have done to make the space a little bit more welcoming to perhaps those who maybe are students of color or female identifying students?
Yeah, so I think that is definitely a big part of DNT, and we are always constantly in conversation among all the faculty about making sure that everyone feels like they belong. So one thing, for instance, is like I teach the wood component of design and technology, and one thing that I need to make sure is that every single student tries the machine, even if they're not going to use it, even if their design doesn't need it. They still have to use it. And I feel like at first they are like, I don't want to do it, and I talk to them. It's like this connection. I was like, hey, like, how are you feeling? How's your heart feeling? Where are your hands? And just once I'm with them, physically, emotionally there with them, getting them to try the tool, mostly like 900% of the time, the students, once they do it once, they just do it again and again, and just their facial expression completely changes because they're like, oh, I can do it. Because a lot of times it's mental, right? You think you can't do it, and so there's freer component. But once we as teachers connect with the student, we're there with them, walking them through the process, then I think everything shifts.
Amazing. Thanks so much, Samu. I really appreciate your time and for walking us through this amazing program for everyone.
Great. Thank you so much.
Great. So now we're going to transition to our student panel, and my colleague Andrew Manansala is gonna take things over and facilitate that conversation. Andrew.
Thanks, Davion. So good morning to everyone else. If you're just tuning in, I'm Andrew Manansala, Associate Director of Admissions and Outreach and Engagement. And I'm really excited to get to talk to this group of students here today. We have an admissions intern and a few Tiger ambassadors who are ready to share their Lick experience and how they've engaged with our community and especially the arts here at Lick. So that being said, students, I invite you to turn on your cameras. And as they're doing that, students, please introduce yourselves. And afterwards, tell us what is one of your favorite things that you're involved with here at Lick, and a brief little story on how it's impacted your Lick experience. So I will pass off the mic to Elodie.
Hello. My name is Elodie Griffin-Schmidt, and I am a current senior. My pronouns are she, her, and I went to AP Giannini Middle School, which is a big public school in the Sunset District of San Francisco. I am currently one of Lick's co-vice presidents. That might be a little confusing. We have co-presidents and co-vice presidents. So I'm one of the vice presidents. And this is my third year in student council. So I was a spirit coordinator last year and a sophomore representative the year before. And that has been one of the most rewarding roles I've had at Lick. So I didn't really do any student council in middle school, and I got the opportunity to do it in high school, and I've really loved it. Particularly this year, I've been able to bring back a lot of spirit and community after everyone was at home, and that has been super rewarding. So one thing that I've been in charge of recently is we actually just this Friday had our first dance in like 2 years And normally this is pretty traditional. We dance in the gym and like everyone has a good time. And I don't know, like they have some glow sticks. But this year I was like, I'm going to revolutionize this dance. It's going to be insane. So I got a mechanical bull and I brought in a line dance instructor and had everyone come in as farmers and cowboys. And so I had like all these grades dressed up. And I got to see like 100+ kids in a row line dancing and like interacting with people in different grades and like really just having a genuinely good time, and being able to contribute to that has been kind of incredible. I also helped run a haunted house, which is something that used to happen years and years ago at Lick, but hadn't happened in the 4 years that I'd been there. And so I kind of figured like, why not bring it back? So me and a couple other people on student council made that happen. We had people from all different grade levels come and help staff it and kind of do whatever they wanted. So they were like working together and scare people and just have a really fun time. And like we ran it for 3 days, and every single day at lunch there was a line that like was so long that not everybody could go through. And that was just like kind of incredible to just see people having so much fun and being able to be at the forefront of that process and bring fun and spirit and like have the power to make an impact and kind of take my ideas and run with them. And that's my short story. I'm going to pass it to Paris.
Thanks, Elodie. May I just say I had a great time at Houth, so great organization there. And I'm Paris Hing. I'm also a senior. I use she, her pronouns, and I went to the San Francisco school, a small private school in San Francisco. And I am involved with a lot of sports here at Lick, and my favorite sport is field hockey, and we just had an amazing season this year. One story I guess I'd share from field hockey is that, first of all, I came in freshman year not having any experience. I just wanted to like try a new sport, meet new people, and I actually met 2 of my best friends who I've spent like the 4 years at Lick with. And this year, well, when I came, it was like our second year that Lick has ever had a field hockey program, so we were pretty bad. We were lucky if we scored like a few goals. We almost lost all of our games, and so that was like a tough experience, but I continued playing. And this year, it was the first time we made it to the playoffs, and we had our big game against our rivals, University, and it was just a crazy game. We were down in the third quarter, and our team, we had like a little pep talk at halftime, and everyone was so determined to keep our heads up and keep playing, and we came back and won it was like sudden death in the playoffs in overtime, and it was the best experience ever. And I'm really proud of my team, and just to see the program grow over the years has been really amazing. And I'm really happy I joined field hockey because, one, I also like met my best friends through it. And with that, I will pass it on to Kiana.
Hi, my name is Kiana Smith. I'm a current sophomore. My pronouns are she, her, and I was homeschooled for middle school. Something that I really enjoy about Lick currently, I'm in the chamber orchestra, and I think next Friday we're having a concert. So this is like the first one in like 2 years, like in person. So everyone's like super hyped about it. I think it's been like a really amazing experience just to like work with everyone who has like similar interests, and just like collaborate and make music together. So yeah, I'm gonna pass it on to Jace.
Thank you, Kiana. Hi, everyone. My name is Jace Burkholder. I'm a senior here at Lick. I use he, him pronouns. I'm from Chinese American International School, a small private school in San Francisco. I'm involved with a handful of things on campus. I'm one of the admissions interns. I'm also play water polo, basketball, and swimming. But I would say one of the biggest things that's kind of just contributed to such a fun experience at Lick is my time in the shops, so the tech arts. D&T that freshman year, as you guys were kind of talking about that earlier before the student panel, that was a huge Kickstarter for kind of my interest in design. And I kind of just fell in love with that freedom of just, making whatever it is you wanted. Even though last year was, obviously COVID, everything was online. Mr. Fall, one of our woodshop teachers, did a great job of actually getting some of us students in on the weekends, on Saturdays, for literally a whole school day of just shops. So that was super fun for me just to be able to go in with a few friends and just kind of let my mind run free. I was able to make a bunch of things and actually, like I think I made a keychain, a pen, a flower pot, and I sent them to my family as like a Christmas gift. This was before like winter break, so that was super fun. The shops has served as like a connection thing for a bunch of my friends. I've gotten to foster some really good relationships with teachers, but most importantly, I think it's allowed me to kind of develop this, critical problem solving ability that I'm able to apply in the classroom as well. So the shops, needless to say, has been a huge part of my experience as a student at Lick. And with that, I'll pass it on to Amelia.
Thank you. And hi, everyone. My name is Amelia Monfilio. I am a junior here at Lick, and I went to San Francisco Day School for middle school, and I use she, her pronouns. I would say my favorite thing about Lick is the architecture program, as well as like the CMA program and just like the visual arts in general. Specifically with CMA, you kind of get a look into all the different visual arts. Like you can do painting, drawing, like photography, film, architecture. You get to basically try out all these different types of arts, and then you can kind of keep going and focus on one more specifically in the following years. I chose architecture to continue to pursue, which I really loved, and I am thinking of pursuing it in college as well, which I think is super cool that I kind of got to look into that in freshman year, and I'm going to continue to pursue it for a long time. So yeah, I would say that is definitely my favorite part about Lick. And I'm the last one, so I'll pass it back to Mr. Andrew.
Cool. Thanks for sharing those stories, students. And this is perfect because, as you can hear, we're covering the visual arts, performing arts, and the technical arts just here in this group. And we have a lot of questions here in the chat about the logistics of each program. So can just one student briefly tell us and remind us what are those performing arts, technical arts, and visual arts requirements here at Lick? Go ahead, Elodie.
It would be an honor to tackle this question. This was arts, shops, and something else.
Performing.
Right? Performing arts. Okay, so performing arts, you have to take one semester for your 4 years. I took dance one my freshman year, and I loved it so much that I took dance for 4 more years. For arts, there's a required freshman year program, which is called Contemporary Art and Media, referred to as CMA, so you might hear that today. And you basically get to dive into all the different arts classes and try a bunch of stuff, including architecture. And then you're welcome to take as many classes as you like, but there's no requirement. So I took drawing and painting. For design and technology, or for the shops program, there's a freshman year class that I think you just heard about, where you go through all of the shops and build the lamp of your choice, and then you have to take 2 semesters later on. Did I cover all of that?
Perfect. Thank you, Elodie.
Oh,
a lot of the questions also are sort of covering the concerns about like lack of experience when going into these classes. A question here is, can you take an art class if you don't know how to draw? Or can you take a music class if you don't know how to play an instrument? And similar to dance. So students, what would you say to those questions there? Go ahead, Kiana.
Definitely about like, I'm gonna talk about like the drawing aspect. I kind of like came into like having like no kind of like art experience at all. So I think that I think now I really have like a passion for the arts because of that. But kind of in like elementary school, I kind of like felt like I like never could draw. I had like a best friend who was like 8-year-old amazing artist who could like draw these amazing things. And I kind of like feel like the whole class kind of like compared ourselves to Sonia, be like, oh, Sonia's the artist, we can't like live up to that. So I kind of like went through my whole life being like, oh no, I can't draw. And then when I took like the CMA class last year, I think that was just kind of an opportunity to try something new and like actually like discover something or like put effort into like a drawing. And so yeah, I kind of like did my first drawing and kind of like looked down at it and I was like, wow, I can draw. So I think that I kind of like discovered that. So yeah, I think that just like learning about that and having like kind of like support that as like kind of like self-discovery almost. So yeah, kind of like pursue that further as well as this year. So yeah, it doesn't really matter what experience you are, whether you're like extremely experienced or have like no experience in any of the lit classes. I think that the teachers as well as your peers really support you and try to meet you at your needs.
And does someone want to add to the dance perspective side of things in terms of experience? And do you have to be experienced for dance one? Or if you are an experienced dancer, how does that work?
I can talk a little bit about this. I took dance one, having a lot of experience in dance, but I know that the majority of my classmates had never danced before or didn't really have that much experience in dance. And I think the really interesting part is that it's not really like one type of dance that you're doing the whole time. You get to try different styles, which not everyone will have experience in. And you also get to like dance with like teachers from all around the country and the world that Miss Robinson brings in. So you get to learn just a variety of styles. And obviously there's not going to be one student who is like knows all the different varieties of styles. So everyone at some point will be a beginner in that kind of class. So I think it's really just an opportunity to widen your experience with the different styles of dances and the different like teaching styles as well.
I'm just going to add on to the music part of the performing arts. I was in the big band my freshman year. That one requires a little bit of experience. I know they host auditions for that to get into big band. I know I did an audition because I was playing the piano for that. But even then, once you're in that class, you still have the freedom to learn some new things. I know I picked up the bass guitar kind of halfway through my freshman year. I'd never touched a guitar in my life. So even then, you can still start things with no experience. But that one, I think, of all the performing visual technical arts is the one that requires a little bit of experience because they do host auditions for that. But one thing I always like to drive home, especially when talking to prospective students, and I know like a big fear, and Kiana kind of mentioned this, was like that conception of I can't draw, and I definitely went into CMA with that. And my drawing sucked. They were bad, but I think the way I was supported was that, teachers weren't grading. And I think students are also worried that, teachers are going to grade on the quality of my drawings, are going to think my drawings are terrible. They aren't really grading on that quality. It's more that growth process of how are you implementing the strategies that they try to teach you? How are you tackling the adversity and the challenges that you face in those drawing or painting classes? So as much as I try to tell students, don't ride that, that idea of I can't draw. I mean, obviously all of us are at different skill sets, but especially in the arts, teachers are really good at trying to meeting you where you're at and trying to help you develop from there. And then I also always like to mention, just with performing arts, some students may also not be comfortable with like being on stage, right? Some kids may not be comfortable with dancing or playing an instrument or singing. Stagecraft is one of the classes that you can use to fulfill that performing arts requirement, and that is working behind the scenes. You develop the stage and the set for plays, you work the lighting for the musical or any of the dance concerts and music concerts and all that. So I always like to add that when talking about the performing arts.
Yeah, it's funny, Jace, that you bring up that piece of your drawing, because I remember talking to you as an 8th grader and why you were concerned about coming to Lick compared to some of the schools you were considering. And those concerns were actually over like the art requirements. So this next question will touch on that here. Families being concerned about why we require all arts, the visual, performing, and technical. So students, I ask you this, what are the benefits of making every Lick student take art classes?
I'm gonna jump on this unless Paris, I saw you like sort of eyeing the unmute button. But I'm gonna go for this. I think it's like the greatest thing that Lick has to offer. I'm gonna be totally honest. Like I went into Lick, had zero experience in dance. Like probably would not have done it if there had not been a requirement. Again, 4 years later, have taken dance every single year and now like the highest level. Like wouldn't have been a thing that I would have done unless I'd been pushed to do it. For CMA, like again, contemporary media and art, I got experience in all of these different kinds of arts that I otherwise like would not have dabbled in, and now I can say that I have. And then I got the experience to like pursue it later. And with art in particular, went in drawing and painting, took like an art class when I was 7, like basically had 0 experience, took drawing and painting later as like a semester long class, and then pursued art for a year outside of Lick, and now like carry a sketchbook around me wherever, like wherever I go. Like would not have happened had I not been pushed into that by Lick. And the thing is that like I look around in my classmates and see that the same things have happened for them. So I'm not even an anomaly. Like that is the same opportunity that is created for other students. And as for technical arts, like speaks for itself. You get to do so many things that no one else has the opportunity to do. Like I took a sewing class, would not have thought that I could sew, and then ended up with a bucket hat that said like old men rule on it. An opportunity only pushed by Lick. That's my take. I think it's fantastic.
Yeah, I guess I'll just add on to that. I totally agree with everything Elodie just said. I had similar experiences coming into Lick. I had no like prior experience in like tech arts or visual arts. Like I did a little drawing, but I was also, or thought I was terrible. And then CMA came around and I really like got into the drawing unit. And something I really liked about CMA and D&T, as other people have said, is that you get a taste of each class that like offers, and it's only like a year. So if you end up not enjoying that class, you're gonna move on, and then the next years you like don't have to take it. But similar to Elodie, I was pushed into taking a performing arts elective, and I got put into songwriting, and I was like really nervous for it, and I didn't think I would like enjoy it as much as I did. And now I'm looking to pursue songwriting in college, and I've been like writing music, making music, and I think that the requirement is just a really good way to push yourself to try something new, and a lot of kids end up liking it and then continuing to take it. So
Yeah, I'm actually a fan of the performing arts elective that we didn't have when I was a student here, as well as CMA, which is a class that, again, I did not have. And like Paris just said, it's really just putting our students in situations where they're trying new things and taking risks, and really through that learning something about themselves and the people around them. And Kiana being one of our younger students here, a sophomore, I'm curious, just in that theme of taking risks and trying new things, can you share an example of something that you've done recently?
Like in art or just like in general?
Anything that you would like. It can be academically as well.
I don't know if this is like a trying new thing, more as like going deeper into something that I thought that I really couldn't attempt or that I really like didn't like enjoy doing. I also feel like other people maybe don't have passion for this is like writing. So yeah, I think that kind of like the writing or the English program at like really helps me kind of like feel more comfortable in writing and kind of going deeper, and also finding just like the fact that I could write and that like I have the ability to do so. I think that when I was like very young, I was probably in elementary school, I like hated writing. Like I didn't like dislike writing, like I despised writing. Like every time I had to write, I would just like tears everywhere. So I think that, so when I came into my freshman year last year, I was like, I got into my English class and it was like first period, like first day of school. And I was like absolutely terrified. And then we got homework that night and I was like, I don't even know how to do this. So like writing definitely was a challenge for me. And I was able, so I kind of like met with my teacher and kind of like explained to her that like my curriculum never really like went over this and I was like not very comfortable in doing this. And she like really was supportive of me. She helped me make a plan on how to like tackle certain things. I met with her on multiple occasions and she really helps me just kind of like get on the same level and like feel really comfortable about my writing. And I think this year that like really helps me, and I was able to like try like different aspects of writing. Like I started like getting into like journaling and like writing poetry, which I never would have thought I would do. And I know there's also like creative writing classes at Lick. I personally haven't taken them, but I know that that was like something you could take if like to fuel your passion of writing if you found one. So just kind of like something new that I tried, was just kind of writing. So like I was just like so terrified about it that I never even like tried to like even like put effort into my projects before then. So, yeah.
Thanks for sharing that, Kiana. And in the theme of like finding your passion and pursuing that past high school, I know Amelia and Paris, in your intro stories, you mentioned a couple things that you want to pursue in college and maybe after that. Can you share a little bit about that discovery here and what the process has been pursuing that outside of classes?
Yeah, I can start. So I just briefly mentioned how I got into songwriting, and my first intro to songwriting was the Songwriting 1 class that I got into freshman year, and then the second semester I got into a beginner's like music production class, and those were really scary at first, but then I started really enjoying it and making music. I had always like enjoyed listening to music, so that was really cool that I could start making it. And it also helped, like I also play some instruments like piano, guitar, and I have just been singing for fun. And then so second year, I took this songwriting 2 class, and that also really helped. And then junior year, like I think there was only a songwriting 2 class, so I turned to outside of school. I took some summer programs, songwriting so summer programs for a few colleges, and then I also took like we had during quarantine they offered a few classes for fun, just to help students find something new to try over the summer. And so I also took another music production class using Ableton Live, which is also another like DAW, like GarageBand. I don't know if you're familiar with it. And so that's how I got into songwriting, music production. And the teacher, Mr. Asaro, who teaches a lot of music classes at Lick, has become a mentor and has helped me and encouraged me to continue making music outside of school. So on my own time, I've been writing, and he's been helping me, giving me feedback on all my music. And now, like I mentioned, I'm looking to apply to colleges for songwriting. And yeah, that's how I discovered my passion for songwriting at Lick.
Yeah, so I had mentioned how I kind of got into architecture. So in freshman year, I took CMA, obviously, like everyone else did, and there was a unit on architecture where when we were taking it, we made like a little like outdoor pavilion kind of thing for one of the courtyards at Lick, which I thought was a super creative idea of a project. And after that, I kind of wanted to try out the more like specific just architecture class the next year. Unfortunately, it was only semester long because it was online, but I got to kind of get a taste as to what doing architecture would be like with, I guess, like designing online on a software also. So I did that in sophomore year, and I'm in my second year of architecture as well. And I think part of the reason why I really got into it was also because of the teacher, Goranka. She's just this amazing teacher, and she kind of really understands her students and the workload that's involved with being at Lick, and she knows that architecture gives a lot of workload too, so she's really focused on our well-being as well as like trying to cultivate our architecture experience. So I really love that about the architecture program. And outside of school, I've kind of been trying to connect with other architects as well. One of my friend's parents, they're architects, and they offered to talk to me, and they kind of connected me with one of their colleagues as well. So I've been trying to reach out like that. And yeah, just overall, I really found a passion with architecture, and I'm only a junior, but I have kind of been really thinking seriously about going to architecture college. So yeah, I think Lick kind of gives you in freshman year like this idea to try out all these new things, which I think is super beneficial because you can see people who kind of found what they want to do starting from freshman year, which I think is really awesome.
Awesome. Thanks for sharing that. And then I got one last question for Jace before we wrap up here. just to put you on the spot here, Jace, how do you think the arts programs here at Lick connects to the mission of our school?
Yeah, so I would arguably say like beyond the arts program, like every single class at Lick somehow is geared towards the the mission of the school. Obviously, probably some of you may have heard or looked on our website, right? Private school with a public purpose. I'm also head, heart, hands. As you can imagine, the tech arts, you can probably connect the dots. I think that's probably the hands aspect and probably a lot of other things. But one of the biggest things I think how it connects to the mission of the school, this idea of a private school with a public purpose, is that some arts classes, some tech arts and performing arts and visual arts classes incorporate this PPP aspect, or that's abbreviated for public purpose program. It's kind of our volunteer service work aspect of Lick, which is a requirement. I was kind of just scrolling through the Q&A while some students were talking, and I saw a few questions about that being a requirement. Yes, it is. I think you have to take at least a semester of a PPP class in your senior year, and you have to do about 40 hours of service work in your sophomore year, and freshman year, you're kind of introduced to that concept of the public purpose program. But I think the arts, at least in my experience and through the classes I've taken, have been the biggest kind of connection between PPP and just the general mission of the school. I took a class called Private Schools Public Purpose, which was a kind of a service-oriented woodshop class, where I believe that was mentioned earlier in the D&T part of the open house, but we kind of just worked together to design, chairs and desks for local schools and kind of refurbish a local park that one year. And that's always going on. There's always like these big projects in the shops, but if you ever happen to visit, there's always benches or something on there. But definitely, I think, and like I said, this extends beyond the art program. I mean, this goes into language. I took a Chinese 4 PPP class where we, developed learning materials and wrote stories and kind of Zoom conference local elementary schools to teach them stories about, Monkey King and teach them songs and things like that. I know there's, I believe, an art and action PPP. I don't take that one, but that's also another PPP oriented class. So definitely service is kind of intertwined with a lot of these classes, especially with the technical arts, performing arts, and the visual arts. So that definitely plays into just the mission, again, of private school with a public purpose here at Lick. And that really, that's an extremely valuable experience, because not only do you kind of build community within that own class, but you're also reaching out to other local communities and kind of fostering that connection as well. So those connections go way beyond the classroom and serve as kind of just this lifelong bond and connection and experience you can always look back on very fondly.
Thanks for sharing that, Jason. Just one last question for each of our students, since we are a little over. Thanks for hanging on there, guests. What are 3 words each that you would use to describe the Lick community? Anyone can start us off here.
I can go first. Oh, sorry, Kiana, did you want to go? Okay, so my 3 words for Lick students or the Lick community would be motivated, passionate, and hardworking. I don't know if I should explain, but those are my 3 words.
Yeah, no explanation. Kiana, you can go next.
Yeah, I had very similar words. I said supportive, passionate, and friendly.
I'll go open, collaborative, and engaged.
They're cohesive, energetic, and supportive.
And I said inclusive, driven, and diligent.
Well, thank you so much, you 5 students. I had a lot of fun chatting with you, and I feel like every time I talk to our students, I'm learning something new. So I just really want to appreciate your thoughtfulness here today, and I'm sure our guests today enjoyed hearing your stories. So thank you. I'll pass it off to Davion to wrap it up.
Awesome. Thanks, Joss. Really appreciative of you all for sharing your stories. Andrew, thanks for facilitating that amazing conversation. For all of our attendees today, thanks for coming. I hope that you found this insightful. I know that we rapidly went through so much today. And so if you do have any more questions, please feel free to reach out to our admissions office. Feel free to reach out to our teachers, or you can reach out to one of our Tiger Ambassadors using the Connect with the Tiger Ambassador button on our webpage. But we're really looking forward to getting to know you and your child and your family through the admissions process. And have a great rest of your Sunday. See you later.